This is there in the books. But it's there in the books. That means also that it's staring everybody in the face. There's no embarrassment about it. It's there. It's part of the system, part of the picture. So then, for me, it's like, well, how does one expand one's understanding of the reading so that all of those things fit in neatly? So I think to myself, well, let's go back to the beginning. So the back to the beginning bit is that hadith about the 7 ahruf. This Quran was sent down on 7 ahruf, or according to 7 ahruf. Recite whatever is easy for it, easy of it for you. Now, those two companions, as we've said before, it's worth repeating because people always come up with this counter-argument. You have to say, I've heard what you say, but, and you smile at them and just, say, it's not dialect. They were from the same blooming tribe, for goodness sake. It's like everyone in East London having an East London accent, and then somebody says, oh, this speaks differently from the way I speak. No, it doesn't, exactly the same, mate. And, do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to kind of just sort of give it them as it is somehow. So we can say that they were speaking the same language, but they recited the same surah differently. That's the key point. It's the same surah. It's even mentioned in Surah Al-Fath, or was it Surah Al-Furqan? So Surah Al-Furqan, which is longish, I mean, it doesn't mean it was all of the surah, but we don't know. That was being recited two different ways by two different companions, and they had both learnt it from the Prophet ﷺ. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean that when they said it to the Prophet ﷺ, they just gave the general idea and the Prophet ﷺ said, yep, that's fine? Maybe. We've got evidence for that elsewhere in the hadith literature, etc. I mean, I'm kind of guessing. I'm out on a bit of a limb, because if I say too much here, I can have the whole Muslim world against me. Kafir, like, denies a letter. Well, that's what ends up. That's the danger. All right. من كفر just بحرف من القرآن فهو كافر. Right, now that's a serious judgment. So what is the harf? So if you deny even a harf of the Quran, you're a kafir. Harf, we've said before, can indicate a very big thing. Denying that is quite a big thing, obviously. It can indicate a very little thing. But min tahtiha and tahtaha, there's two letters different. Not even just on one, it's a separate word. Nobody's a kafir if they say min tahtiha. No. It's been accepted by the community. If you say فَلَا يَخَافُ وَلَا يَخَافُ, nobody's going to call you a kafir. They might not realize that you're getting it right, but they won't know. But then you look back, and in some of these earlier manuscripts, you've got these colors being used in a way that's slightly unusual. Not unusual in terms of the literature, because it's mentioned in the literature. أَفَكَهُمْ, you can find that in the Mu'ajam al-Qira'at. You'll find أَفَكَهُمْ is mentioned. And it'll say read by X, Y, and perhaps Z, whoever they are. And X, Y, and Z may have a story themselves. X may be from this place, Z may be from some other place. There may be a whole other story. That needs research, if one wants to go down that line. Because the question of priorities, is it worth your time spending a lot of time and effort on that, when you could be spending a time on, say, usury in Islamic banking or something like that, which maybe is far more important. So I mean, I'm not saying this must be, that must be, or I'm just saying, for me, it's been a personal interest. And as I said, when I first began to find out about these things, I didn't know what madhab was. And I guess it's true of most of the youth in the UK today. They don't know what madhab is. They've maybe heard Abu Hanifa, Imam Azam, and he is Azam, he's big. But how did that come about? How did he become Imam Azam compared to the other Imams? And who are the other Imams? And are they not also Azim as well? And so on and so forth. And it's like a kind of curiosity trail, Curiosity killed the cat, but it also brought the heart to life. It's like kind of good thing. And the same with the Qira'at. Warsh, huh? Who's Warsh? Never heard of him. Hafs, huh? Isn't it just the Quran? Well, yes, but there's this man, teacher, Asim, and he had different students, Hafs and Shu'bah. And, interesting. Well, what's the differences? Well, and then you can start expanding and so on and so forth. But it's part of, in a sense, leading up to the chair's questions. Chair's going to have questions, of course. That what will explain these variants as they have manifested? And as I said autobiographically, when I started reading that book, The Singer of Tales or whatever it is by Albert Lord, and he was talking about this, the rendition of this poem in Yugoslavia as it was then, and I just thought to myself, whoa, this reads like information about the variant readings. That's what it smelt of, if you like. And that was what my colleague in Wales had indicated. He says, you'll find that interesting, you know, worth having a look at. So I thought, let's just take this a bit further. What would it mean? Well, the words they use, or he uses, Albert Lord, is multiformity. Now that's as opposed to uniformity. Uniformity is when you say, that's it, sorry, wala yakhafu, we're not going to accept anything else. No, bang, you know, whipped on the knuckles or whatever it is. So you have to say, well, how can I accept wala and fala and fatathabbatu and fatabayyanu and ansaran lillah and ansar Allah? How can I accept all these things so that it makes sense? Because that's the evidence. So how can I put a unity, if you like, not in the uniformity level, but how can I put together these bits to make a unified picture which, if you like, probably explains most of the evidence? Let's not try and overclaim for it. And when I heard about that question of multiformity and, if you like, different performances almost, I mean, performances are used in a different context, because that's the first thing one has to be careful about. The Quran is not poetry, and it only later becomes written down, but there is a stage where the Prophet ﷺ, as we know, could say, that's okay, and that's different, but that's okay. So that's, if you like, the problem and also the answer. How can you hold both variants of Surah Al-Furqan to be correct and accurate, although they sound different? What was the difference? We don't know. Do we have any evidence? No. We've got what the books say about Surah Al-Furqan, variants in, and you'll have the kind of standard variants. But that was before. Those books were not written till later. What was it like at the time of the companions?